rare and balanced view on politics in today's world. Based on facts, born of rationality, common sense, and logic, providing context on today's events. This is American Perspective with Rick Thomas.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to American Perspective. I am your host, Rick. Well, the Charlie Kirk fallout continues. And by fallout, I mean the exposure of the leftist lunatics that are out there and everything else that's going on. I got a few things on that. It's just a mess. But before I get to that, let's go ahead and get things kicked off. Tonight is, and I haven't seen her in the chat yet, but tonight is USA Abby Girl. USA Abby Girl is up for tonight's pledge. So, oh, there she is. She just popped into the chat. So USA Abby Girl, or US Abby Girl, I should say. US Abby Girl is here for the chat, or for the Pledge of Allegiance. So if you are of mine, please stand, remove your hats. If you're wearing one like me. And place your hand over your heart and follow along with US Abby Girl as she recites the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Thank you for that wonderful rendition of the pledge. If you would like to hear your rendition of the pledge played here on the program, all you need to do is record yourself performing or reciting the pledge in your style. Take that audio file, video file, whatever kind of file, and attach it to an email or share it to me. Send it off to fans, F-A-N-S, at AmericanPerspective.online. That's fans, F-A-N-S, at AmericanPerspective.online, and I will get you into the rotation. All right, so tonight's headline sponsor is theflagshirt.com. Theflagshirt.com is where you can go and check out all the patriotic styles that they have for fall. That's right, fall is here. My daughter, Little Miss Whiskey, went for a walk today and was saying that, hey, when I was out in the sunshine, it was all nice and warm, and I even got too hot, which is amazing because she is usually cold at anything under 80 degrees. But then she was saying when I'd walk into the shade, man, it got cold. So, yeah, so there you go. Fall is on its way up here in the northwest for sure. So get those patriotic styles for fall, decked out in the red, white, and blue. Fantastic hoodies and three-quarter zips and all kinds of stuff in men's, women's, kids, made in the USA. Get them all for fall. Hey, Constitution Day is coming up on Wednesday, by the way, just in case you did not know that. I'm hoping to have at least some things for it for the Wednesday's broadcast. But anyway, that's beyond the point. Go to theflagshirt.com and check out all of their styles that they have available to pick up and make it available. And if you order $75 or more of a product from their store, they'll get you free shipping today. They will get you free shipping for orders on $75 or more. But I know not everybody can order $75 worth of gear, or maybe they just don't want $75 worth of gear. And so I'm going to help you out. All you need to do is go to flagshirt.americanperspective.online. That's flagshirt.americanperspective.online. And that'll present you with a coupon code. You can grab that coupon code, copy and paste it into the promo code box at checkout at theflagshirt.com. get yourself $5 off your order. So all you need to do is go to flagshirt.americanperspective.online, grab that coupon code, copy and paste it into the promo code box at checkout at theflagshirt.com, and get $5 off your order on American Perspective. Go to theflagshirt.com and get yourself patriotized. All right, folks. Well, all I got to say is, wow, talk about an outpouring. There's been so many people, not only on social media, but also at places you would not expect to see an outpouring for Charlie Kirk. And I just got to say, it's amazing. But one thing that did happen yesterday, as I was perusing the socials, there were many, many people, and I'm not going to, I don't know how to count, but there were many, many people on social media who were basically saying, hey, I went to church for the first time in quite some time. And there were even a few. There was one lady who said, I opened my Bible for the first time in a while. And there were a couple other people, one in particular, who basically said, folks, I'm an atheist. I've been an atheist all my life. And I have decided to go to church. Am I welcome in church? Will I be welcome if I just go to a church and, walk in? Folks, all I got to say is this. And realistically, I gotta be upfront and straight with you. The vast majority of churches that I am aware of, that I've ever been, yes, they are open to the public. Yes, they will let you in. They will open their arms for you if you would like. If you want to go in and check out the church, go for it. Okay? If they don't, honestly, that's not a church. Now, at the same time that I say that, I also want to point out that there are churches that, and it's sad that I even have to say this in today's day and age, but there are churches that are basically charlatans, folks. There are churches that when you walk through the door and you listen to the preacher speak, you need to be aware of the fact that there are churches out there that do not speak the Bible. And I'm saying they don't go and they just open the Bible and they start preaching on the Bible, okay? But there are churches out there who manipulate, who twist, who change the Bible to fit with today's ideologies. And I'm just going to say it. If you see a church that is, with complete, open arms and everything else that is basically hanging the pride flag everywhere, that's not a church. Because while being gay is acceptable as far as, hey, that's how God made you, the sin of being gay in the Bible is not. It's hard for a lot of people to understand that there is a difference. Just like there is a difference in terms of the Bible saying, do not judge one another, yet holding Christians to basically hold their brethren accountable for sin. A lot of people have difficulty breaking those concepts into two separate parts. And while a gay person or a transgender person or, are accepted in the church to come hear the word of God, absolutely. But at the same time, you need to understand that you may not be walking into a church that is going to teach you the actual words of God as they write. You also need to understand, too, that nobody in this world is without sin. There is only one person who has ever graced this earth who has been solely without sin, and that is Jesus Christ. So every person that you see in that room or in that church has all sinned at one time or another, and each one of us needs to be accountable for our sins. I personally know of several that I'm going to have to account for when I finally meet my Maker. But that being said, you need to understand there are hidden charlatans that are out there that will try and take you away from God's word. And they'll do it very slyly because Satan does things very, very slyly. You may think that being accepting and putting the church in full colors, rainbow colors, is an acceptable. Oh, yes, it is. You know, the church is being open and welcoming and that. No. No, you need to, unfortunately, you need to learn to recognize those signs and be able to walk away from it. And the only way that you're going to be able to do that is if you read the Bible. If you read the Bible and you understand what is happening there with the Bible. Now, most people say, oh, reading the Bible, that means you got to read it from cover to cover. No. No, the Bible is much better, at least in my experience, is much better studied by subject. Find yourself a subject and weave the subjects together. Okay? I mean, a lot of people can go and like read it from cover to cover. That, to me, there are certain chapters that you can do that with. For an example, you can read Genesis because Genesis, in the most cases, basically the beginning of man. And you have to be careful with certain denominations as well. For an example, the Catholic Church. I saw a video, and this is an example. The Catholic Church has apparently allowed, at least at some denominations within the Catholic faith, has allowed women to preach, women to become preachers. Honestly, that is specifically forbidden in the Bible. Women are not supposed to be preachers or pastors within the church. That's in 1 Corinthians. So understand, when you go into the church and you see a woman at the altar, there's a question there. You need to mark that as a question mark, because that is not a biblical value. And I know the feminists are going to stand up and be like, oh my gosh, you're not being... Yeah, well, you've got to understand the Bible is not to be changed. The Bible is not to be warped. The Bible is not to be taken out of context. The Bible is supposed to be followed as the Bible is written. And that's one of the reasons why I have 5 different translations here, because I bounce the different translations off of one another, because believe it or not, Hebrew, Aramaic, and I believe it's the original Greek are like the 3 languages that the Bible was written solely in. And it's difficult at times to take those and actually translate them into English. There are several Hebrew words that have no specific meaning, no specific direct translation into English. For an example, the word a woman in Genesis, the English translation shows helper, which would indicate potentially a woman. When a woman and a man get together, that when woman was created, that when woman was created, that she was to be Adam's helper. When Eve was created, she was to be Adam's helper. But the actual Hebrew word does not translate to helper. It translates more appropriately to companion or partner, as in the two parts that come together as one whole. And this is, again, one of the things that you need to understand when you're even studying the Bible, and search for truth. Search for truth. And believe me, if you trust but verify everything, I promise you, you will come to the Word. You will come to the Word of the Lord. You will come to the truth. I didn't mean to step on this platform and start talking about that, but it is pertinent to tonight's topic, which is essentially that through all of this, we need to understand that there are going to be performers that are out there. Those are going to be the ones who actually secretly believe what the left tells them, which is essentially that conservatives are all Nazis, that we're fascists, that we're racists, that we're bigots, that we're so on and so forth. And yet, we are not. And I take that towards Charlie Kirk as an example. There's so much misinformation out on the web, out on the social medias right now, that people are talking about how Charlie Kirk was a bigot and a racist and a homophobe and Islamophobe and all these other things. And yet, he is not. One of the, and I'll actually talk about one of the things that is taken out of context in just a second. Speaking of Charlie Kirk, J.D. Vance made an appearance on Charlie Kirk's podcast. He was the first guest speaker, I guess, to be up there. And honestly, he did to me. I didn't see the actual podcast. I saw a video of a speech that he did afterward as his closing, and I can just tell you right now that, yeah, J.D. Vance calls it right. He says there is no unity with those who celebrate Charlie Kirk's assassination or the groups that fund them. I'm sorry. Vice President J.D. Vance mentioned how desperately he would love for us to come together as a country and reject political violence. He said, I have heard many calls in the last few days for unity and for healing in the wake of Charlie's assassination. You have no idea how desperately I want that. And I think everybody does. I personally would love for that to happen. There's only one problem. There's only one problem with that. And I've been posting it on social media. There's a lot of leftists out there who have abandoned the foundational principles and values of this country, who have abandoned the idea that human life has value. And all of them are the ones that we need to pay attention to and stay away from, and cannot do any kind of reconciliation with them. Because those are American values. Those are American values. We cannot reconcile with people who cannot understand and embrace our foundational principles and values. Because you need to have some common ground. You need to have some common ground that you basically have in order to be able to grow and reconcile with each other. You cannot do that if you do not have that common ground to start from. See, arguing on policy is fine. Arguing on policy, how we get from point A to point B, is perfectly fine. As long as you work within the same common foundational value set and principle set, you can work with it. And I'm not talking that you have to have everything the same. But there has to be some sort of common space to start from in order to be able to do any kind of reconciliation. He continues on here. He said as a part of his speech, "But first, we must tell the truth. And it's the only way to honor Charlie. What was he if not a man who told the truth?" And this is the point that I'm making. That when you have, as an example of a church that does not tell you that, your sin is wrong. What you are doing is wrong as a sin, and try to keep you on the straight and narrow, that is not the truth. What that is a glossing over of what you should be called for, which is to be an account. To be accountable for this. He also pointed out, too, that 26% of young liberals believe political violence is sometimes justified, and only 7% of young conservatives say the same. That's way too high of a number, he says. He also says this is not a both sides problem. If both sides have a problem, one side has a much bigger and malignant problem, and that is the truth that we must be told. Yes, there are factions who would be considered on the right. They're called alt-right, white supremacists, which realistically, white supremacy is not necessarily a political value, whether it's left or right. That is more of a racist value. So you can't necessarily call a white supremacist either left or right necessarily, even though a lot of people put them in those kinds of boxes. Because it's easy. But all of that being said, the only one that seems to be of a larger group that is putting together, as Ben Shapiro points out, the structures for violence, the permission structures for violence, is completely on the left. Like I just pointed out, 26% of young liberals believe political violence is justified. Nobody in their right mind would actually believe that. By right, I'm not like doing a tongue-in-cheek thing. I'm saying the correct side of the mind. He gave a pretty dang good speech. I don't want to go through the whole thing here. But I want you to understand that there are many things that Charlie Kirk is being blamed for that are being taken out of context. Perfect example, I was on X, and there was a Democrat, a proclaimed Democrat, at least in his profile, that basically made a comment on one of my comments with regards to, I think the original poster had something in there talking about how Charlie Kirk said that the Second Amendment was something that he wanted to, let me rephrase that. The Second Amendment was something that he wanted to protect, so much so that it was acceptable for people to die so that we could have guns. And that is a side on the left, or that is a misnomer on the left, because when you take the entire context, the entire answer, because it was that what they're referring to was a response to a question. And when you take the entire paragraph, or multiple paragraphs, I should say, the entire answer of what Charlie Kirk said, that is not what he was saying. Yes, that line was in there, but it was not in the context that the leftists keep trying to push. And this one gentleman, he comes back to me and he says, well, did he not say that? And I said, well, okay, the words are in there, sure, but that isn't what was meant. I said, why don't you go research the entire quote? And unfortunately, he came back to me with a Media Matters article, which, of course, we all know Media Matters is a left propagandist outlet. And he was like, hey, here's my research. And I responded back to him and said, why don't you quote the whole quote then? And he goes, well, there's so many quotes already in here. And I said, okay, fine. I grabbed the entire question and answer from a transcript of the interaction. And within that transcript, within that answer, there were several examples that Charlie Kirk was making. The biggest one, which I have made on multiple times, hey, we have, so many deaths by car every year, whether it's drunk driving, simple accidents, whatever. And we still allow for people to drive cars. Why would 50,000 deaths per year, I'm rounding, why would 50,000 deaths per year be an acceptable number? Well, here's the difference. And Charlie Kirk basically said, why would we just not license cars anymore? Why do we even need them? If that's not acceptable. The answer, of course, falls down to this. There's no way that we're ever going to get rid of gun violence or gun deaths 100%. Okay? There's no way that we're going to be able to get rid of gun violence 100%. No matter what we do, there is always going to be someone available. Even if you were to quote unquote ban guns, you're not going to be able to do it. So it's futile to even think that. But what Charlie Kirk was meaning when he made this out of context statement is that in order to protect the right, in other words, in order to protect the right to drive, there happens to be, unfortunately, an acceptable number of human beings' deaths that follow along with it. See, after every single mass shooting or mass violence incident that happens with guns, as an example, they blame the gun. But yet, if you were to sit there and say, okay, fine, so then we ban drunk driving, which, by the way, drunk driving is illegal. So is murder, by the way, but drunk driving is illegal. But yet we don't ban the car. We don't blame the car. 99.999% of the time, you blame the person behind the wheel. So why can that same philosophy not be applied to mass shootings and guns? The reason is because people seem to think that guns are something to be abhorred. And yes, they are a tool. They are a tool designed to do one thing and one thing only. But the difference is that guns are an enumerated right within the Constitution. That's the difference. So again, Charlie said a lot of things, a lot of different things. You can go and look up the quote. I'm not going to go through it. But he's like, seriously, if the talk of, hey, having the Second Amendment and following it, and not only that, but keep in mind, the Second Amendment is not about hunting. It's not about even personal defense, even though that is important. This is him talking. He says the Second Amendment is there, God forbid, that you can defend yourself against a tyrannical government. That is what the Second Amendment is all about. And if that scares you, he says, wow, that's radical, Charlie. I don't know about that. He says, well, then you really have not read any of the literature of our founding fathers. He says, as Noah Webster puts it, the supreme power in America cannot enforce unjust laws by the sword because the whole body of the people are armed. See, this is why people who read the Constitution, who understand our founding, who understand where it came from, are such advocates for the Second Amendment. Because it's not necessarily about the guns, it's about the tyranny that can come from an overreaching government. We are seeing an overreaching government. We are seeing an overreaching government. In many areas, I keep repeating this on the show. Whenever you hear me say Article 1, Section 8, man, that I'm telling you, that right there is an overreach of government because of the 10th Amendment. But there are so many different things that are taken out of context for Charlie Kirk. And if you were to go and actually listen to the man's actual words in full context, you would hear that he is not a bigot. He is not a homophobe. He is not an Islamophobe. He is not any of the things that people have been attributing to him. And I encourage everybody to go and take a look at the entire clips. Anytime you run across something that you think might be a little hinky, read the entire or watch the entire clips. Get the transcript of the entire clip so that you can understand the context of what is going on. This is what I'm talking about. Forget the charlatans. Forget the people who are out there who are trying to tell you, oh, you need to understand he was a, racist and dot, 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 dot. No. Verify that. Verify that. Speaking of verification, the FBI has now confirmed that DNA found at the scene of Charlie Kirk in his hiding spot matches the person that they have in custody. It matches. They also have done a lot of different things in terms of figuring out what his motives are. There are now several people who have demonstrated, several people who knew him have demonstrated that he was embracing radical leftist ideology. But it's radical leftist ideology. And this has all been basically proven out at this point. Even the leftist and the left-leaning Axios. Here it is. You guys don't believe me? There it is. There's the logo right up there at the top, right next to my CC, my closed captioning. There it is. How Charlie Kirk's killing sparked unfounded theories about groypers. Unfounded. Even left-leaning Axios has given up on the idea that this guy was some sort of an alt-right person. So any of you leftists out there who are sitting there trying to, oh my gosh, I gotta, figure it out or whatever. You know, oh, he's a right-leaning, he's a Christian, he's a conservative. He's not. He's a leftist. Just like we've been telling you since the start, he is a leftist. Oh, I got a couple people in the chat who have asked, what's a groyper? Groypers is how it's spelled. A groyper is essentially a follower of somebody by the name of Nick Fuentes. And his followers, which, by the way, he doesn't feel, in terms of Nick Fuentes, he doesn't feel that Charlie Kirk was right or conservative enough. Now, they embrace a lot of different ideologies, but one of the things that they don't embrace, contrary to popular belief, is they do not embrace anything dealing with homosexuality or furries or any of that. Like furries meaning people who dress up like animals, who think that they're animals. They don't embrace the trans ideology either. Contrary to what a lot of people are trying to point out. The term groyper actually comes from the logo that they use, which basically is a toad who sits there with his hands folded underneath his chin. You've seen the logo. It's a very poorly, I'll say it's very poorly drawn, but keep in mind, I'm not an artist. Very poorly drawn toad in this case. They also have some things that some other things that they do, but mostly it's followers of Nick Fuentes. Now, Nick Fuentes, of course, has declared war on Charlie Kirk and Turning Point USA. So this is why a lot of people felt that because the killer now, because the assassin, has a few references like the Groypers would. They just noticed that my closed captioning doesn't know the GROYPERS word. Anyway, that's what it is. And a lot of people were like, hey, we're going to, that's where he is. He was not. He was not even close. Even Axios has decided to give up on that pipe dream because they were trying to assign it to some sort of a conservative. Keep in mind that these people, they're all over the place. These people are going to do all kinds of things, and I'll get to that in just a second. But let me tell you, man, I needed this over the weekend. Oh, my goodness. I needed this over the weekend. Woo. All right. My big old 16-ounce cup of coffee that I had, man, that I always have every morning. I actually needed it Saturday night after the show. I went and got another one because I was up all night doing something else. Anyway, if you still haven't tried 1775 coffee, now is your shot. The 1775 starter kit just dropped. There's only 1,000 units available. It's probably less now. You're going to get in the kit the bold, dark roast that hits hard. You're going to be able to try the smooth, medium roast, as well as the Vitality Mushroom Coffee for clean energy and laser focus with no crash. All are single origin, small batch, toxin-free, and mold-free. Plus, you're also going to receive as a part of the kit, my favorite, a gold spoon clip, because freedom isn't scooped with plastic. Also, too, you'll receive a frother that is strong enough to not only stir up your coffee, but your mother-in-law's opinions as well. And believe me, she's going to have a lot. You'll also receive a black 1775 tumbler. $170 worth of coffee and gear, yours for just $99. That's right, the low, low price of $99. This is for the ones who have been watching 1775 blow up on Rumble and wondering if it's actually worth it. Spoiler alert, it is. Go to 1775coffee.com. That's the numbers 1775 all together with the word coffee.com /studio, STUDIO, and grab your starter kit before they're gone. That's 1775.com /studio, and grab your starter kit. Bold beans, clean fuel, and a morning routine that stands for something, just like Rumble does. Go to 1775coffee.com /studio, STUDIO, and grab your starter kit today. Now, of course, my Rumble Whiskey Warrior P1s all started talking about frog legs, so off the track we go. That's right, we're off the track. So here, real quick. Sorry, folks, I had frog legs. They do not taste like chicken fat, Boz. No, I happen to like gator tail, and that's fine, but I don't like frog legs. So sorry, 3 Chevy. I don't agree with you on that one either. No, it does not taste like chicken. The ones that I had, which was fried gator fried frog legs. I decided to try it down in, what is it? I think it was North Carolina. And, I took fried frog legs, and man, I could taste the pond water that they came from. I mean, the taste was not all that great. Now, that being said, I've had gator tail, fried gator tail, and that is good. That is actually good. So, anyway, I just no, thank you. All right, let's get back on track. So, across the nation, there has been vigils held for Charlie Kirk. And unfortunately, the haters also came out as well. Here's just one example. There was a man that was arrested for attacking the Charlie Kirk Memorial outside the Turning Point headquarters in Phoenix, Arizona. And this 19-year-old man appeared to be wearing a shirt that was similar, if not exactly alike, to the one worn by Charlie Kirk's assassin when he vandalized the memorial. Now, I'm not going to play the video, but there is the man. And as you can see, let me see if I can zoom in. There, you see the similarity of the shirt. It looks almost, based on what I can tell, outside of details, it looks almost like the exact same shirt. So, yeah. Anyway, these people are everywhere. They are everywhere. And I'm just going to tell you right now, man, just head on a swivel, because this is only going to be, unfortunately, it's probably only going to be worse. Only going to get worse than what it is, than getting better. Because of the fact, the reason why I say that is because apparently now there's some leftist accounts that are posting hit lists of the people that they want to murder next. This, according to PJ Media, apparently there are people, especially over on Blue Sky, that are posting death wish lists. That, of course, some of the principal names that keep showing up are like Joe Rogan, J.K. Rowling. I don't know why they say Joe Rogan. Joe Rogan's not right. He's not a conservative. J.K. Rowling, Ben Shapiro, Matt Walsh. Oh my gosh, he's taken a lot of hits on X. As well as, of course, Donald Trump, libs of TikTok. Yeah, Chaya Ratchik, Elon Musk, and of course, Andy Ngo. This was reported from the Center Square. Yeah. So, be careful. That's all I'm going to say, is just be careful. I hope that we don't have another one. Good for us, though. None of these people are really like, hey, you know what? No, I'm not going to shut up. I'm not going to stop. I'm not going to stop talking. You guys are not going to put me away. And that, my friends, is the spirit of the 56 signers of the Declaration of Independence. Yep. Definitely. These are the times, according to Tom Paine back in 1776, these are the times that try men's souls. Absolutely. Oh, did I mispronounce J.K. Rowling? I said Rowling. It's actually Rolling, I guess. Rolling as in bowling. But as I told you, the left has a bunch of people that are out there that they're trying to post like, hey, I'm sorry, hey, we need to come together. They're the performers. They're the performers that are out there trying to, we need to unite as a country. And as I've already pointed out to you, it's hard to unite with people who literally have nothing in common with us anymore. And by us, I mean conservatives anymore. But yeah, all I can tell you is that there are performers out there. And here is an example of one. For a lot of people who may not recognize the name, but Cenk Unger, it might be just, I don't know if it's Cenk or Kenk or however it's pronounced. But anyway, he, yeah, my closed captioning is going crazy with this one too. It's C-E-N-K. And then Uyghur, I guess it's U-Y-G-E-R, I believe is how it's pronounced. Anyway, he has been posting on X all over the place. He was posting on X, hey, we need to calm down the rhetoric. We need to calm down all of the, we need to calm down the rhetoric. We need to, political violence is wrong. Well, then he showed up on Piers Morgan's program, and Dave Rubin, I'm going to tell you, Dave Rubin, man, he is not backing down at all, by the way. He is not backing down at all. And here, I'll just play you the clip. It's roughly about 4 minutes long, and I may like turn it off early or I may shut it off a little earlier, but you really got to see Kenk's response to what Dave Rubin is saying. Take a listen.
It seems to me that everyone agrees that Donald Trump is not Hitler and his supporters are not Nazis. So with that in mind, I'd like to read some other headlines. These are video titles from Cenk's channel. And if in the spirit of reconciliation, maybe he wants to delete these things. Trump cuts anti-Nazi program. Trump spreading Nazi propaganda. Nazis encouraged by Trump's Charlottesville response. Trump defends Nazis, very fine people. That is the biggest political hoax ever. Trump retweets a neo-Nazi again. Trump disappoints neo-Nazi supporters. So these things don't come out of nowhere. I only blame one person at the end of the day for these murders, which is the crazy person who does the murders. But pretending that what is wildly asymmetrical, I think I have laid that out with evidence here, pretending that it's symmetrical is deeply, deeply dangerous. Piers, you know this because we've discussed it on my show. Even on your show, you have found it way more difficult to find rational, decent people on the left who will explain themselves thoughtfully and calmly and everything else, while the panoply of people you get on the right who shouldn't even be on the right, I would say certainly someone like me, I don't know exactly where Batya considers herself, but people with a variance of political opinions that now broadly are part of the MAGA thing is because of what I just read you, the endless hysteria of the left that has ginned up people to do crazy things. It's not to say you can't say the worst things. You want to say the worst things? Donald Trump's a Nazi. It's so tough to say. You want to say that? Go ahead and say it. It falls on the person who pulls the trigger. But if we're all sitting here saying, yeah, it's not true that Donald Trump's a Nazi and it's not true that his supporters are Nazis and he's not Hitler and all of those things, well, then before you get to reconciliation, a little bit of a mea culpa by some of us might be valuable.
Cenk?
Yeah, I mean, look at this. This is disgusting. So this guy pretending to do conciliation, and I was going to be conciliatory towards Dave if I spoke first. But apparently that's not what he's doing at all. So what he's trying to do is get people angry in a misleading way against me. Are you trying to
Are
get
those
people
your
to be
titles?
violent?
Are those the titles
this
of your
is
videos?
disgusting.
No.
So no.
that's-
Let me explain.
no.
Let me explain.
Those are your titles.
No, let
buddy.
me explain. You're asking me a goddamn question, so let me explain while you're trying to get people to do violence against me. You're disgusting. So those are 80% of those titles. I've never called Trump a Nazi, and those titles were about neo-Nazi reactions. So what do you want us to do? Not tell you what's actually happening? And so look.
Did Donald Trump side with neo-Nazis?
Yes, he did say that.
Incident in Charlottesville?
So as
Piers, how about you handle this one instead of giving it to me?
Can I just talk? So this monster is trying to egg on violence.
What did Donald Trump say after
and he won't even let me talk?
I'm not talking about the neo-Nazis or the white supremacists who should be condemned completely. It's the biggest debunked conspiracy theory of all time. You're still pushing that now? You're still pushing the very fine people hoax now? I'm shocked even for you.
Dave, no. Dave, shut up and let me answer your stupid question. So on that day, which now we're going back to that for no goddamn reason other than you're trying to get people angry at me for misleading things.
I'm reading your titles. You should be angry at your titler.
He did. Shut up and let me answer. So did he say there are very fine people on both sides? He did. So that's a fact. Now, who was he referring to? As we've explained on the Young Turks, he might have been referring to the people who were in favor of the Confederacy and came out there to support Confederate generals. I didn't find that to be any better. Those people were in favor of slavery. Those people lynched black people. So I'm not going to ever cheerlead for them, and I'm not ever going to shut
Jake,
up
in the very next sentence, did he say, I'm not talking about the white supremacists or the neo-Nazis who should be condemned totally?
And you are...
All right, so basically, as you heard, as Kank or Cenk or however you pronounce the goddamn person's name. I love these people's names. It just really weird up. Anyway, as you're sitting there listening to him, he is basically getting pissed. He's getting mad because his own titles are being thrown back at him. At the very least, what he could have said is, you know what? Yeah, we did title the shows that. And that is not the way, in hindsight, the way that I would like to title my shows, title my programs anymore. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back and you're right. You are absolutely right. I have personally fomented, unknowingly fomented a narrative against this individual who I don't agree with, and you're correct. But he didn't. Because, again, the performer is going to get angry, is going to get upset, is going to be mad about the fact, just like, if you go to mythology, just like Medusa, when she looks at her own reflection, she turns to stone. That is exactly what's happening with these people. They get shown their reflection and they get pissed. They get mad because they don't want to see it. And it's these kinds of things that are, again, the performers. We need to be cautious of these people. What they are doing is they are performing for their base, but they are also performing for the current temperature that's going on in the world, because they can't afford to say, you know what, I was wrong. I was wrong. And I shouldn't have been saying those things. And you are correct. I will try and do better because, again, as Nick Freitas made a point of this, he was posting. Some of you people that are on Facebook and X who follow me, you'll see me sometimes repost some of the things that he says. Very wise man, former Special Forces Green Beret. But anyway, he basically said at one point, he says, forgiveness is something that the Bible, says that you must be able to forgive. You have to forgive your enemies. But repentance and reconciliation after the fact, repentance is basically summed up in this whole idea. You confess your sins. You ask for forgiveness. And they say at the end of it, go and sin no more. Now keep in mind, go and do not do this anymore. If you hurt somebody, if you cause them pain by some of your words or something along those lines, learn about it and then go and say, go and sin no more. In other words, go and don't do that again. And if you are truly repentant for what you did, if you are truly wanting to reconcile, you will work very, very hard to not do whatever it was that you did again. And that's where the performer comes in. The performer is kind of like, well, let's just be honest. The performer is kind of like the abuser. They do the abuse. They come to the person that they're abusing. They say, oh, I'm so sorry. I won't do it again. A week or two later, they're back to abusing you again because they weren't truly repentant. They didn't truly think that, hey, I am the bad person. These people, these performers, and you've got to watch for them. They are everywhere. These performers are all over the place. They are not going to be repentant whatsoever, and they will immediately, as soon as the wind shifts another direction or whatever, they'll be right back at it. I guarantee you, Kenk will be right back at it with the Young Turks. He has literally no repentance in that. And you can see he obviously has no repentance, because if somebody who has truly sinned gets called out on it and is truly repentant, if they get called out on it again, the response won't be anger. It will be embarrassment. It will be shame. That is not what these performers are going to demonstrate to you. Oh, they're going to sit here and say today, oh, yeah, we really ought to come together. Or they might try but this happens on both sides. The but argument, the justification. There is no justification for this. None. There's no justification for celebrating murder. None. There's no justification for wanting to kill an innocent individual, which is murder. There's no justification for that. Doesn't matter what the person did to supposedly deserve it. There's no justification. And if you don't feel like there's justification, or if you feel like there is justification, when you get called on the carpet over it, your response is not going to be embarrassment. It's not going to be apology. It's not going to be looking for forgiveness and reconciliation. It's going to be anger, resentment, justification. That's what these performers are going to do. So be cautious of the performers. Especially, do not forget, the performers can hide for many weeks, months, whatever, and they'll come back. They may look like they're repentant and everything, but they won't be. They'll change as soon as they are allowed to. As soon as they can get back to their other setups, they will do it. Because the truly repentant person will do everything that they can to avoid the actions and the actions that they have done and set it up. A truly repentant person will actually change the way that they think, the way that they act, and the way that they speak, in order to make sure that it doesn't happen again. Beware the performers in this time. All right, folks, that is it for me for this evening. Do me a favor, if you haven't already, head on over to rumble.com, get yourself an account. It is free. And once you are signed up, signed in, make sure that you search up the American Perspective channel and hit that green follow button to get notified every time I go live. Also, too, before you take off across all my platforms, hit the thumbs up or the thumbs down, whether it's on X, YouTube, Facebook, or, of course, the aforementioned Rumble. We will see you tomorrow night, 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern Time, right here on American Perspective. Have a great rest of your evening, and good night, everybody.